a motion and a second, please, to do so?
Motion.
Mrs. Leading and Mrs. Fuchs. Be hereby resolved by the Ocean Township Board of Education to return to public forum at 6:16 p.m. Roll call.
Mrs. Fuchs. Yes. Mrs. Leavy.
Yes.
Mr. Finn.
Yes.
Mr. Hart.
Yes.
Mrs. Susan.
Yes, can I ask everybody to please join me and stand for the pledge of the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you for all attending this evening. This time we're going to be having a presentation of our 2026-2027 school year budget from Mr. Kevin Burns, our business administrator.
Thank you, Kelly. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming.
Do the lights down?
So not a lot has changed since our last budget presentation in March. So forgive me if a lot of these slides seem like a review if you were here in March. A few things did change, a few extra slides. Okay, so again, just quick about our district. Ocean Township School District educates students from pre-K through 6th grade. Our budget also supports students attending Southern Regional for grades 7 through 12 through a 7% tuition agreement. Our resident student population is 875. The preschool student population is 110. 42% of our students participate in the free and reduced lunch program. 24% of our students are engaged in our special education program. Our enrollment has been increasing since about 2021. Our accumulated S2 decrease in state aid was approximately $5.25 million. Exact numbers on the screen. This is a quick slide showing our enrollment history. You can see since 2021, October 2021, our enrollment has increased gradually from 818 to last October 2024. 2025 was 875. So you can see now, if you look all the way to the bottom of the chart, we are back to our resident enrollment of almost 9 years ago. It's the same number, 875. So our enrollment has been going up, which is a good thing. This next slide is a schedule of our general fund budgeted revenues. That top line shows our maximum tax levy that we can increase the tax levy by, which was 3.36%, which is 2%, which is the cap that we're allowed to go up to, plus an additional 1.36% for an enrollment adjustment, since our enrollment has increased. Interest income was budgeted less because of interest rates going down, and also our cash balance as well has dipped after a few years of losses. Our projected semi-revenue increase, this number is given to us by the DOE. It's a projected number, so that was good. That went up $72,528. Our state aid includes a 6% increase, which equals approximately $107,000. It's less on this schedule because we didn't get the tax levy incentive aid this year. If you recall, last year the state allowed us to go over the cap, and we would get some tax levy incentive aid from the state. And last year we got about $24,000. So that's why that number is $107,000. I'm sorry, that's why that number is $83,000 instead of $107,000. Our budgeted fund balance number decreased $408,000 due to our 24-25 losses. The district no longer has maintenance reserve to offset the required maintenance budget, and that accounts for another $200,000 loss in revenue. Our savings from leaving this state health benefits plan basically covered those losses. So that was a good thing, but as you can see, $608,000, that's a lot of lost revenue. Capital outlay line, under capital reserve, you can see this year, 25-26, we had budgeted $600,000. That was for the roof project at West. That came in under budget at $300,000. So we'll be able to put back into the capital reserve $300,000 at the end of this year. Be able to put back into there $300,000. The $50,000 under 26-27 is for walkway repairs at Fleet West. Now, if you look at the subtotal, the first subtotal, and you look at the percentage increase, you can see our budget from last year, actually our operating budget, actually only increased by 0.4%, and that has a lot to do with the loss of budgeted revenues there for fund balance and maintenance reserve. This is a pie chart, just showing you where the budget appropriations were spent. If you add instructional support, and benefit, that makes up 85% of our budget. If you add into that as well transportation and facilities, that makes up 97% of our budget, only leaving 3% for administrative costs. So this shows that our budget is focused on students, and a small percentage of our budget is paid out for administrative costs. So I changed the slide from March just so I can show you the last 10 years. 24-25 year, I'm sorry, 18-19 school year was the first year of S2. 24-25 was the last year. So over that time, we lost about $5.25 million, or 75% of our aid. Now, starting 25-26, the CIFRA formula was supposed to just recalculate itself, and then you would get whatever aid was due to you. But as you know, from the last meeting, the state has capped our aid the last few years. And instead of getting the $575,000 the formula calculated for 25-26, we only got $101,000. And instead of getting the, I'm sorry, that was $675,436 we were supposed to get. We only got $101,000. And for 26-27, instead of the $721,000 we were supposed to get, we only got $107,000, leaving about $1.2 million of aid on the table, or withheld aid. This is when our enrollment is going up. We are 42% low income, and we've seen an increase in our special education numbers. This is an interesting slide because this slide is actually straight out of the budget software. Kind of blows my mind because that we're withholding our aid, but at the same time they're telling us that our budget is under adequacy. But this is what they think the tax levy should be on this slide, $20,404,590. They're not saying that's what our state aid should be. They're saying that's what our tax levy should be. But still, they're saying our budget is under adequacy. Last year, they allowed districts who were under adequacy to apply for the tax levy incentive aid that I mentioned before. But as of today, we have not heard if that's going to be made available again. So besides state aid, we're also seeing large tuition increases from our receiving district. The chart behind me is our net cost of Southern Regional School District. So these increases include the tuition adjustments that we've spoken about. Just like Southern is, just like we are, Southern is also dealing with the same significant increases, just like everybody else: health benefits, utilities, and so forth. Special education costs. The last few years have included tuition adjustments totaling $1.9 million and increases in our per pupil costs of 19%. In 24-25, we're billed $16,000 for grades 7 through 12. 26-27, it's $19,100. Southern is a great school district and love sending their kids here, but these increases have made balancing our budget difficult. So how did we get here? So when me and Eric put the budget together, we increased the tax levy by 3.36%. We included everything, all our expenses that we had before meeting with Southern. We were still at a budget shortfall of about $400,000. When we got the billing information from Southern, we had the new tuition adjustment of $756,621 that was due for 24-25. Now we did have 3/4 of the 23-24 adjustment already on the books, which almost was a wash there, but we still owed a quarter for the 23-24 school year, and we had a tuition increase for our grades 7 through 12 students of $720,000. So altogether, netting those amounts together, you get the $1.4 million shortfall, which is what me and Harry had to make up as we went through this budget. So what kind of budget reductions are we looking at? We have a loss of our Title I-A funding, which is going to affect our basic skills program for the 26-27 school year. The state is telling us to budget for a 25% reduction. We had to cut $35,000 out of the budget for technology devices. We're going to have a reduction of our class sections in K-4 to 2. Reduction of 6 full-time certified staff, 3 full-time certified staff to part-time, and a reduction of our non-certified staff to part-time. I failed to mention on a previous slide that we had requested a deferral from Southern of 50%. We've come to agreement with them for an additional 1-year deferral on the 23-24 adjustment of the $243,473. Sorry. So this deferral that we agreed to is going to include a 3.68% interest rate for the total amount due. It comes to about $9,000. The deferral restores a combination of positions from part-time to full-time. It's going to allow us to increase our health benefit line because there's adjustment that needs to be made there. And just to be clear that this deferral is still pending Southern's Southern Regional Board of Ed's final approval at their meeting, which I believe is on May 6th. So this is not set in stone until they approve it. It is on our agenda tonight for approval. So I mentioned before, we were able to get out of the state plan. The state plan has just been absolutely brutal for school districts. We did see an increase in January of about 38%. It's just ridiculous increases. We were fortunately, we had some restrictive language in the CPA. We were able to get that restrictive language out and get out of the state plan in March, and that saved a lot of money for this budget. Some districts were not as lucky and were not able to get out, and Southern being one. So this is just this next slide is basically just a tax impact review. This is on the tax levy at 3.36%. Our rateables here in town are about $2.3 billion. That's a 42% increase from the previous year. With the tax increase at 3.36%, including debt, our tax rate would be 7.37%. And on an average home value in 2026 of $468,600, that would be an increase of $98, or about $8 a month. all the rateable numbers and the average home value, those figures are provided by the local township tax assessor. Just a school tax rate comparison for 2025. I updated the R rate for 2026 since I have it. As you can see, we're definitely comparable to the other towns. Manchester's a little lower than us. One of the differences here is Manchester had a reassessment completed in 25. We had one done in 2024, which will drop your tax rate. If you compare our average home value to some of these other towns, we are higher than a lot of these other towns. So we have bonds expiring at the end of next year, and we have a lot of capital needs. Board is going out to referendum in November. We're submitting 2 questions for the referendum vote, a tax neutral question and one with a minimal tax increase for the year. We have to replace boilers at both schools. We have a boiler at West that's from 1952. Emergency generators need to be updated to include our communications and network servers. This is very important for safety. The West fire panel needs to be upgraded. The chillers have reached the end of their useful lives, and all remaining roofs are starting to deteriorate. The only roofs that wouldn't be included in the referendum would be the roof over our head right now for the roof cafetorium and the roof work we just recently did at West. Also, the majority of our classroom unit ventilators are also starting to age out. If we can address these items, our school will be more energy efficient, we save on repair costs going forward, and we'll have a much healthier, we'll have a healthy environment for your kids to go to school at. Very important that we get that referendum passed in November, so make sure you come out and support it. So obstacles facing the district, we have a few. We know already, based on the numbers, that we probably will see another tuition adjustment when we go to work on the 27-28 budget. I have the numbers up there for you. We would build $17,800 per student this year, but the 24-25 certified tuition rates for Southern are up there, $18,870 for grade 7 through 8. 18,692 for grades 9 through 12. So, you know, those are only going to go up. So we will have an adjustment for the 25-26 school year. Rising costs of health insurance, utilities, special education, transportation, in my opinion, are just not sustainable with a 2% cap on the levy. Costs are just skyrocketing right now. We have a lack of reserves. We haven't put money in our reserves as long as I've been here. We have about $900,000 in our capital reserve. That's all we have left. So I think very frugal in how we use that. You know, it all goes back to our budgeted fund balance. Any excess we have towards the end of the year goes towards that budgeted fund balance number. So when we lose money one year, that number goes down and we have less to use towards the following budget. And again, facility needs, I just went over, we have a lot of key infrastructure assets, chillers, boilers, roofing systems. It's just, these areas are not addressed. This building, you know, it's not gonna get any better. It's just like your home. If you ignore these things, it just gets worse. That's why the roof at West had to be repaired. We were starting to get leakage into the building. So it's very important, like I said before, you come out in November and support this referendum for our kids. It's a very important referendum. Thank you for coming out tonight. We've definitely seen an uptick in community support. A lot of the community has reached out to legislators quite a bit since our last meeting. So we really appreciate that, and I thank you for that. And that's my invitation. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much, Mr. Burns. We appreciate your time and your effort that it took to put this together for not only for our district, but for the community as well. At this time, we're going to open to public forum on the 2026-2027 budget presentation and other agenda items only. I do have a timer. It is set to 5 minutes. It is not done to be mean-spirited at all. It's just that what happens is we in the past really haven't had a need to have a timer. We don't get that many people at our board meetings generally that want to come up and speak, but we encourage you to. If you have lengthy questions, we just ask you to be mindful of that, and instead of presenting that here and maybe taking away from your time, you can send an email, but we're happy if we can, within that 5 minutes, we can answer any questions that you can. But before we do that, we're going to need a motion in a second, please, to open the public hearing.
Motion.
Mr. Hart
Second.
and Mrs. Sweet. Roll call.
Mrs. Hughes. Yes. Mrs. Leaming.
Yes.
Mr. Penn.
Yes.
Mr. Hart.
Yes.
Mrs. Susan.
Yes, you're now open to public forum. If anybody from the public wishes to address the board on the budget presentation or agenda items, please come up to the podium. Make sure that the microphone is on. State your name and address for the record, and we'll set the timer. You're now open. Oh, we need some lights. Move up. Thank you.
Chris Legacy, 86 Barnaby Beach Drive. Thank you very much, Mr. Burns, for the presentation and for the board and honoring your efforts. I know this is a very challenging budget year, and we are obviously trying to advocate outside of here to help with this situation. I have a couple of quick questions, more for the audience, but I also have them as well. The Southern deferral, you had mentioned that it looks like one of the slides says you were applying for a 50% deferral, but then you also mentioned the 243,000 from prior years. Is that together, or is it 243 total? I was a little confused by that.
Just 243.
Okay, so we're not.
Ours will be 50%.
Okay, I'm sorry, I must have misread the slide then. Okay. The mid-year Southern adjustment, how is that? How do you normally manage that as far as the budget? Do you build that into the tuition expectations for the budget now, even though that adjustment comes sort of mid-year? Or what do we just have to deal with it the next budget year? Like, how's that normally handled?
If you're talking about the 27 to 28 adjustment that I'm anticipating, we wouldn't know that number until we meet with Southern. Usually in February of next year.
But they don't start collecting it until the following budget cycle? Is that?
It comes from the audit.
They do
Yeah, it's based off the certified rate, which comes from the audit, which usually isn't done until December or January.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry, jump in. We meet with them in February. They provide us with that adjustment information as well as what they are anticipating our costs to be for the year forward. So that once we have that in February, we typically receive our state aid figures at the end of February. This year is slightly delayed because of the transition of a new governor, and then we start building the budget. So that deferment or that adjustment, as well as the bill, is always included in the following year.
Got it. Where am I out of time?
You're good, you're 2 minutes, you're about 3 minutes.
Excellent. Okay, so thank you for that information. So just a couple of things. The one other question I have for you, Ari, this is a challenging question, so I apologize in advance. With the new stated expected classroom sizes, how are we managing that when it comes to things like active shooter scenarios and whatnot, with trying to push 35 first graders into a corner quietly? That concerns me greatly since my daughter's going into first grade.
I think that's a very valid question. I know that we meet with the Ocean Township Police Department each year to review our crisis plans and talk about any challenges that we may have or any new laws that have come down the pipe. I can say that in our larger classrooms this year, which are here in this building, the staff has done a great job of trying to limit any excess furniture in the room, trying to get
thank you. I'm sorry, time?
128.
Thanks. So, sorry, I'm trying to be mindful here. So I guess my only comments to this are that obviously this is a very challenging situation. The class sizes are, I think we can all agree, are just not conducive really to the environment that we want our kids learning in. And this problem, obviously, as much as we've talked about it over the last 8 years, is really, the solution at this point comes from Trenton. There may have been things in the past that we could have all discussed and batted back and forth, maybe done, maybe not done, but at this point, given the timing, we need everybody to engage with Trenton. The governor had her chat the other night. We put in a ton of questions to her, all about S2 and about the funding formula and SFRA, to try to force, and the question was asked, and she absolutely dodged it. Specifically the question on bridge aid to get us through between now and when they plan to do the funding formula for the next budget cycle. So we are continuing to push this issue legislatively. We are going to Trenton May 6th to testify, asking for everybody in the community, regardless whether you have kids in the district or not, in order to address this issue, we need community pressure because it can't be solved at this level. We can't exceed the tax levy. There's a structural deficit that cannot be solved by tax increases because of the limit and because of the cap on state aid, which instead of 652, we're getting 107. Can't fix a $500,000 problem or a $3.9 million problem without Trenton fixing it and helping us. So thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Caitlin Miley, 3 Oak Creek Drive. I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank the board members and our superintendent, Ms. Phillips, that attended the committee meeting last week and listened to the dialogue, and Ms. Phillips also joined in on the dialogue with our committee. I recognize that there is limited capacity for our board here and for the committee members to have any effect on the funding, but I do appreciate the collaboration. And I think that's really important. I believe that a lot of us have kind of led to this where we recognize everybody's hands are tied. But I do believe that there are places, there are opportunities for our community to still support our students in ways that the state funding is not. I know that we are losing the summer BSI program and other support services, especially for most vulnerable students. So I was wondering if the board believes there's any maybe areas in which the town or the community could come together and potentially offer other services through things like nonprofits or grant programs that aren't directly tied to the school that could help offset some of the deficits that we will be seeing due to the lack of state funding in this district itself.
So this raises an interesting question. We have applied for the High Impact Tutoring Grant through the state of New Jersey. I believe our eligibility was about $40,000. I have not yet heard if we've been awarded that. However, it's my understanding that we would begin being able to utilize that money over the summer. So should that materialize, the students that are written into that grant as receiving those services first are, our more at-risk population, or students that make up our basic skills programs. So I'm hopeful that should we be awarded the grant, we would be able to provide something. At this time, I just can't guarantee it.
Okay, my question was more so outside of the district. I recognize that we're constantly applying for grants, but with the possibility of a YMCA being pushed for in Lacey, which is very close and neighboring, I was just wondering if there's anything that maybe our township committee that seems to have a renewed sense of support for our district, if there's anything they could do at their level to maybe push for services, or if there's any services that the board members or Ms. Phillips could maybe directly identify, maybe share with our school board liaison or the committee itself. Are there any services that we will be severely lacking from the cuts here? And are there ways that we can reach out to our committee, who seemingly is going to help kind of push to support our students?
I think that's something that we can discuss. I can't, give you a specific right now, and I don't know what availability they have as far as any of their funds that they could use
correct. I just was interested with the YMCA being, they typically offer a lot of those services, and I think that would be something as a community that maybe we could help support that initiative in a
I'm not-
time that's so critical.
I'm not familiar with how their programs work, but it's something I can certainly.
Where's the YMCA?
They're pushing for one in Lacey, so there is some movement there. It seems like they may be getting one, so there's often a lot of services, whether it's activities or tutoring services and that kind of things that are offered through the YMCA and through nonprofits and other grants that utilize the YMCA. So I was just wondering if there's maybe any services that will be severely lacking and that maybe we could bring to the attention of our committee, and hopefully they can collaborate with the officials in Lacey and maybe garner some more support from local communities for that. So maybe we can highlight some of those needs.
We can certainly investigate that, I'm
Thank you.
aware of that.
Okay, thanks, I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your comments.
Hi, Ashley Bringers, 12 Stevenson Street. I didn't plan to speak tonight because I'm just at a loss for words. But I did want to say some things because when we see numbers on the screen, sometimes it's hard for the community who doesn't work in a school or doesn't have children in a school to understand really the impact of that. So I just wanted to kind of express how my children will be impacted and some of the teachers in our district. So next year, my children will not have access to the STEAM program that we've had access to, that they love. They absolutely love Mrs. Boke's class, and that entire program is not going to exist next year. So I know we see numbers on there, but I just want to kind of go through some of the details so that the public can hear exactly what we're losing. Our art and music teacher will still need to teach the same number of students, but now at a part-time, in a part-time hours. And they're going to be, I do have a question. Do we mainstream self-contained students in for specials, for like art, music?
Depending on their program.
Okay, so the 35 that you see there in first grade, when they go to art, it might not just be 35. You might have students coming in and joining that class, special education students, for the purpose of inclusion. And so there could be, am I right to say, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that there could be up to 38, maybe 40 kids going to an art or a music or a gym class together. Okay, but realistically, when we see those numbers, as bad as they seem, they could be even higher in some scenarios, depending on IEPs and mainstreaming for specials. And I know that it's already hard to teach a special area to that many children, and then to have your special education students coming as well, when you don't have a special education degree, some of them, that can be very difficult to provide that support. And they're doing so without benefits and for a much less salary now. Our paraprofessionals, who are already severely underpaid, now losing their benefits, going to part-time. These are men and women that change diapers. These are men and women that chase kids down the hall because they are runners and they may be running out the door into danger. These are people that step in and play the role of a parent when the kids are at school. And when we see the word paraprofessional, sometimes I know the public may not know what a paraprofessional is. So these are people who support the students, our special education students. They support our teachers, and they are so undervalued, and they're being reduced to part-time. They have families to support. They might have family members on their benefit plan that now they can no longer have health insurance for. So the impact is more than what we see in the budget presentation. It's human beings, it's our children, and I just wanted to kind of go into some more of the details for those who might not understand from the outside. Thanks.
Is there anybody else? Okay. Seeing none, we're going to need a motion and a second to close the public forum.
Motion.
Mr. Tartan, and second by Mrs. Lehman. We're now close to public comment. Roll
Mrs.
call?
Hughes?
Yes.
Mrs. Leaving?
Yes.
Mr. Kim?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Susan?
Yes. All right, let's move forward. I have a comment, but I'll speak with it. Okay, we're gonna do some educational highlights. Friday, 5/1/26, I cannot believe it's Friday already, we have a special person's lunch with grades 3 and 5. We have Irish reports that are now viewable on the parent portal. Monday, the 4th of May, through Friday, the 8th, we have the NJSLA testing, which is always a fun time for everybody. Monday, 5/11 to 5/15, we have the NJSLA makeup testing. Tuesday, the 12th through Wednesday, the 13th, we have the NJSLAS 5th grade science. Wednesday, May the 20th, celebration of the arts per school at 5:30 p.m. Monday the 25th, Memorial Day, schools will be closed and we will reconvene on the 26th. Tuesday, there's no Board of Education meeting in May, but our next Board of Ed meeting will be June 11th, 2026 at 6:15. In Southern News, next Board of Education meeting will be held on May 6th, 2026 at 7 p.m. Please check district website for more specific news. There's so much going on at Southern. We've got the scholarship awards, we've got academic awards for the middle school and high school, so there's a lot going on this next month. So please check the website for specific news at that time. Also in community highlights, just to mention, there is a Save Our Schools Fix the Funding Rally, which is going to be held May 2nd, 2026 at 1:30 p.m. at the Veterans Park in Bayville. New Jersey parents and all supporters of New Jersey public education are encouraged to attend. This can easily be found on social media and on the web, so if you're looking for more information, please take the time to do that. Okay, moving forward here, let's make a motion, please, to accept the minutes of the following Board of Education meetings. Regular meeting on April 16th, 2026, and the executive meeting on April 16th, 2026. A motion and a second is needed.
Motion.
Mrs. Fuchs and Mr. Finn, for discussion. Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Hughes?
Yes.
Mrs. Leaving?
Yes.
Mr. Kim?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Susan?
Yes, under financial, report of the business administrator, we want to thank Mr. Burns for his presentation tonight. I don't think Mr. Burns, anything else you need to explain? No. Okay. So we need a motion to approve the following awards for payment: B1, April 2026; B2, budget transfers, March 2026; B3, certification of the budget report, March 2026; B4, secretary's report, March 2026; B5, treasurer's report, March 2026; B6, physical therapy services, to approve the agreement with Doris Gonzalez for physical therapy services on an as-needed basis for the 2026-2027 school year at the rate of $100 per hour. B7, educational data services bid award, to approve the following bid awards from Educational Data Services, cooperative bid for the 2026-2027 school year, general classroom supplies as listed, fine art supplies as listed, health and trainer supplies as listed, library supplies listed, office and toner supplies as listed, paper copy duplicator supplies as listed, physical education supplies, science supplies, special needs, teaching aids, and world language, all listed in the agenda. B8, contract renewals. Pursuant to BL2, 2015, Chapter 47, the Ocean Township Board of Education intends to renew the following contracts previously awarded by the Board of Education. These contracts have been, and will continue to be in full compliance with all state and federal statutes and regulations. New Jersey Title 18A, colon 18, ET-SEC, New Jersey NJAC, Chapter 6A, colon 23A, and federal procurement regulations 2 CRF, Part 200, 317, and SEC. Real-time software, and Genesis, Strauss Esme, Wex, Omni Group, E-Rate Consulting, Excel Services, Pay Schools, and Carl and Associates. B9, tuition adjustment deferred. To approve the agreement for repayment of the 2023-2024 school year tuition adjustment payment deferral to Southern Regional School District in the amount of $243,473. The full balance of the tuition adjustment deferred shall accrue interest at a rate of 3.68%, beginning September 1st, 2026, and through final payment, which is due no later than September 1st, 2027. Approval of the 2026-2027 school year budget. The superintendent recommends approval to adopt the final budget for the 2026-27 school year, whereas the tentative budget was approved by the Board of Education at the March 26, 2026 public meeting and submitted to the New Jersey Department of Education for approval. And whereas the tentative budget was approved by the NJ Department of Education on April 14, 2026, and whereas the tentative budget was advertised on the district website under legal notices on April 17, 2026, and whereas the final budget was presented to the public through a public hearing held in the all-purpose room of the Frederick A. Prep School, 139 Millsville Road, Waretown, New Jersey, on April 30, 2026. Be resolved that the final budget, summarized below, be approved for the 2026-2027 school year, and that the school business administrator board secretary be authorized to submit the final budget to the executive county superintendent of schools for approval. And to be further resolved that the school business administrator board secretary and the superintendent of schools be authorized to implement the 2026-2027 school year budget and A4F tax levy form in accordance with statutory and board policy regulations upon NJ Department of Education approval. And be it further resolved that the Board of Education includes in the final budget the adjustment for enrollment in the amount of $212,892. The district intends to utilize this adjustment for salaries, supplies, and materials necessary for the additional students. And be it further resolved, included in the general fund appropriations is $650 designed for deposit from interest earned on the account into the Board of Education's approved capital reserve account for further funding of other capital projects as outlined in the long-range facility plan. This deposit is for excess costs of the state school facilities project or other capital project and represents expenditures for construction elements or projects that are in addition to the facilities efficiency standards necessary to achieve the New Jersey student learning standards. It be further resolved that the Board of Education includes in the final budget an appropriation of fund balance in the amount of $1,372,999. And be it further resolved that in the 2026-2027 school district budget includes a withdrawal from capital reserve in the amount of $50,000 for sidewalk repairs at the Waretown Elementary School. The total cost of this project represents expenditures for construction elements or projects that are in addition to facilities efficiency standards. Is that efficacy? Am I saying that right? Efficiency standards determined by the Commissioner as necessary to achieve the New Jersey student learning standards. Maximum travel pursuant to NJAC 6A:23A-73, a Board of Education must establish a maximum dollar limit for travel expenditure as defined in NJAC 6A:23A7 at SAC $20,000 for 2026-2027 school year. The maximum travel expenditure amount for the 2025-2026 school year is $20,000, of which $315 has been sent, and no money is encumbered as of April 30th, 2026. Travel-related expense reimbursement, as stated and listed. The school business administrator board secretary shall track and record these costs to ensure that the maximum amount is not exceeded. We need a motion and a second, please.
I have a motion.
Mr. Hart, Mr.
I
Pym,
think water not down here.
board discussion. My eyes were going like, I was thinking, was I saying these right words right? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Fuchs.
Yes.
Mrs. Leeming.
Yes.
Mr. Pym.
Yes.
Mr. Tart.
Yes.
Mrs. Susan.
Yes.
Before we get started with the superintendent's report, I just want to mention that our counselors, Mrs. Ball and Mrs. Evans, each year they complete harassment, intimidation, and bullying self-assessment on behalf of the district. It's completed for each school, so one for West, one for Prep. We've received our self-assessment grades, which were 78 out of 78. This is a rubric that they follow to determine what programs we're providing to support students' social emotional well-being, their interaction with their peers, socialization, anti-bullying, some of the assemblies that we run, some of the curriculums that they use during their time in their classes. So we thank them for completing that, and
Thank you very much. Superintendent's report. Motion to approve the following on recommendation of the superintendent. S1 transportation trips, fourth grade trip to Trailside Gardens on June 11, 2026. S2 building use, Noah's Ark graduation, Griff Gym, Saturday 6/20 at 9:30 to 2 p.m. S3, new positions, approval of the creation of the following new positions: a full-time behavior technician, and a full-time preschool aide. And a motion to approve the following on recommendation of the superintendent under personnel and instruction. Motion to approve the following. P1, employment of business administrator and board secretary. Be it hereby resolved by the Ocean Township Board of Education on recommendation of the superintendent of schools to conditionally approve the employment of and contract for Daniel Rath as school business administrator and board secretary at a salary of $120,000 prorated for the period from May 18, 2026 through June 30, 2026, and $120,000 for the period of July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2027. This contract has been approved by the Executive County Superintendent of Schools and is pending criminal history background clearance and completion of all employment documentation. Can I have a motion and a second?
Motion.
Mrs. Fuchs and Mr. Tardy. Any more discussion? No. Roll call.
Mrs. Fuchs. Yes. Mrs. Leaving.
Yes.
Mr. Kim.
Yes.
Mr. Tarr.
Yes.
Mrs. Susan.
Yes. As for HIP determination, the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the following resolution. Whereas in accordance with the requirements set forth in PL2 2010, Chapter 122, the Ocean Township Board of Education has received results of HIP reports on March 26, 2026. And whereas the Ocean Township Board of Education held a hearing on April 16, 2026 during executive session regarding incident number 5, be resolved that the Ocean Township Board of Education approves insurance of written decisions affirming administration determination in the following investigation. It's report number 5, and the board determination has been unsubstantiated. S5, extended school year program, extended school year summer session 2026 for special education students whose IEP requires extended school year instruction Monday through Thursday, July 6, 2026 through August 6, 2026 from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. S6, job description, approval of the following job descriptions: part-time instructional aide, full-time behavior technician, full-time preschool aide job. Motion and second.
Motion.
Mr. Park?
Second.
And Mr. Chen. More discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Fuchs. Mrs. Leaving.
Yes.
Mr. Kim.
Yes.
Mr. Tarr.
Yes.
Mrs. Susan.
Yes, just an FYI, additional staff attending workshops, we have listed, in the workshop at no cost to the district. Okay, one more time, we're going to open to our public forum, and we need a motion and a second to do so, please.
Motion.
Mrs. Lee and Mrs. Fuchs, roll call.
Mrs. Fuchs. Yes. Mrs. Leaving.
Yes.
Mr. Kim.
Yes.
Mr. Tarr.
Yes.
Mrs. Susan.
Yes, again, if you'd like to address the board on anything at all, please come up to the podium and state your name and address for the record, and we'll put our little 5-minute timer on. Anyone? No.
Calvin Armitage, 24 North Avenue. I understand that the budget is $1.4 million smaller, right? That's what the presentation said?
We had a $1.4 million shortfall that we had to basically just make up or bring down.
So most of that is from the state. The state funding is not as big as it was last year.
It's a combination of quite a few things, but
I
the
guess-
state not getting withholding our aid wasn't helping.
I guess my question is, what is the plan to get more? Like, how do we get more other than asking the community to come up with fundraisers?
But we need help from trying to get more state aid.
And I mean, the other guy said we should contact our governor, right? Like,
Absolutely.
and is there any, like, is this where the voting happens as to where the cuts come, as opposed to, to make some people part-time to full-time to part-time versus cutting out school lunches or whatever you would do to make budget cuts? Like, who makes those decisions? This is you guys, right?
I believe so, if I understand the question.
What I mean is, like, how do we, as the public, influence where the cuts happen?
The coming here and comment.
I mean, cracks in the sidewalks for $50,000, I'm sure that's important, but somebody's salary is $50,000, so if one person,
But that's being paid with capital reserve, you can't use capital reserve to.
I know nothing about any of this stuff.
All right.
I just wanna know what your guys' plan is to get more money from Trenton. Like, I guess that's my question, I don't really have anything else to say. So, and the other thing I was gonna say is, when you buy a house, if anybody buys a house, it's like the third question is how good are the school systems is, right? So I just, you know, try to get more money, I don't know, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We hope to get more money.
I just had a couple questions, and I did want to note something, for residents that do have questions, or any other people that may have questions. We have, kind of put together a Facebook, or I should say we put together a Facebook page that kind of, directs some of those answers that people may have, including where the cuts happened, why they happened, some of the policies that led to that, the formula that led to that. And also there are many different ways that we can contact legislators to help influence those decisions, and that is Fight for Fair Funding, Watertown, New Jersey. It is on Facebook, and it also has been tagged multiple times on our little Watertown page if anybody wanted to go there for more information, data, and additional resources for contacting legislators. The questions that I had that I forgot to ask before, I know we brought up the HIP reports and our counselors. I believe that we are down to 1.5 counselors next year, and we have 571 students on roll for next year. And I was just wondering if you could provide a little bit more as to the roles that our counselors currently fill, state requirements, and also how you plan to fulfill those roles, especially in the absence of a half-day teacher, given that I don't think it's possible for one counselor to serve 571 students.
Our counselors provide social emotional instruction to our students throughout the school year, depending upon the grade level. They teach different sets of lessons to them regarding various topics, friendship to safety, maintaining good mental health practices. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. They also, both counselors act as our 504 committee members, and they oversee the 504 plans for the district, along with myself and the remainder of the committee, but they head our committees. Mrs. Evans in the other building is our homeless liaison. They're both HIB anti-bullying specialists at each school, as well as one is a district anti-bullying specialist. One is our liaison to DCPP, another is our homeless liaison for students that are displaced within our district. They are also responsible for training our staff in various topics. Mrs. Evans is kind of our unofficial director of professional development. She assists with a lot of our training.
Would it be safe to say that they have quite a bit of paperwork to fulfill for the state, and that also takes away time from our students, especially our most vulnerable students or students in crisis? Okay. Do we have a plan to serve students?
So we're going to work with the counselors to develop a schedule and see what they feel.
Specifically, my question would be when we don't have a counselor in a building, and potentially if that other counselor is in a classroom doing a presentation.
So we
require that.
We fall into that situation periodically when one of our counselors is out. So that's something where myself, our child study team members, they will step in at those times for a student, that's in crisis.
Okay. I think that's quite a big problem that we are facing. So I hope that maybe there'll be funding to make that up. My other question was in regards to the preschool. I noticed that there are 7 preschool teachers listed, and I believe we have 110 students enrolled in our preschool program. Is it correct of me to say that we have a cap of 15 students, given that we get a lot of funding from the state? That's basically supporting a lot of other positions in our school. And how are we able to, manage if we are not able to meet the guidelines that the state sets for a program in which we receive a huge portion of funding?
There will be 8 preschool classes.
Okay. So we're moving somebody over to that?
There will be 8 preschool classes.
We hope. Okay. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Chris, good to see you, since Brian Beach Drive. Could you provide us a little bit of information on these S6? Sorry, it's the job descriptions, part-time instructional aide, full-time behavioral technician, full-time preschool aide.
The part-time instructional aid position job description was updated, just to include the change from having full-time, instructional aides, and now moving everyone down to part-time. The full-time behavioral technician is a position that is included in, this budget. However, there are items that are conditional upon the, acceptance of that deferral. And once that is finalized, we will be able to make some staffing adjustments. The staff has already been made aware that some of the part-time positions that were announced for this year will be able to be restored should that finally come through.
Thank you. I'm sorry, is there another one?
The full-time preschool aide as well, that's also part of that.
Got it, okay. So somebody asked a question about, what can we do and sort of, where do we go from here? And I'll take my time just to talk about that, since I know you guys can't do that all night. So one, as Kate said, please join the group. We put a lot of information out to help the community, sort of navigate the challenges and understand what's going on. This has been a problem going back to 2008 with the original adoption of SFRA and then the S2 in 2018. So this has been a sort of snowball rolling down the hill, so to speak. And ultimately, the township is very limited in controlling how it can raise money. Specifically the tax levy cap that was placed on municipalities and how much they can raise taxes, which applies to the school portion of the levy as well. And so ultimately, when the school funding formula was changed via S2 and redirected funds, changed adequacy, changed how they calculate how the district's adequacy is evaluated based on property values and all of that, it created a challenge because the deficits that were created was a combination of a reduction in aid over an 8-year period of $5.2 million, which Mr. Burns talked about. If you look at our budget, we have a $20 million budget, you take $5 million out of the budget, that's a 25% reduction. It's, and when you then cap how much money you can raise to fill that gap, leaving aside the politics of raising taxes year over year at an astounding level, if you can't actually do it, even if you have the political capital to do it, you can't make up the difference. And so you start building up structural deficits year after year after year that you cannot close. There's only been a couple of instances where the state has waived the ability to exceed the cap. And so it has created a situation where, despite inordinate increases in cost pressures on the district, there hasn't been a substantial mechanism to recapture necessary revenue, either through state aid or through tax levy increases. And so the district has been forced to cut year after year after year after year after year. Unfortunately, we've reached a point now where that has reached the classroom in a significant way. And despite that, the state imposed a secondary cap once S2 completed, which said we are going to limit how much a district can lose in any given year, but we're also going to limit how much aid they can recover in a given year, capping it at 6%. So now what happens is, for instance, I was trying to say this at the end of my time, so I'm going to use my time. Waretown, and Mr. Burns, correct me if I'm misstating anything, but I believe based on the school funding formula, we would have been eligible, had there not been a cap, for roughly $652,000 in aid from the state. And because of the 6% cap, we were capped at $107,000, which immediately created a roughly $550,000 deficit. Notwithstanding all the other cost pressures on the budget, notwithstanding anything else, we got a $500,000 deficit handed to us right there that we can't make up through a levy increase or a sufficient levy increase. And so now we are stuck with cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting. So what is the point of all this? The reason I brought up that what's left is trend is we've gone to the town. They don't have any pilot agreements that they're entertaining for any of the new development. development. So the idea of reshifting ratables is actually not happening. We're trying to get them to change the ordinance so that they really have to fight if they do want to do it in the future, but for now, at least we have a verbal commitment. They're not engaging in any tax abatement or pilot agreements. That's number one. There's no real county level dollars here. That's not how our state's structured. So it's either the municipal level or the state level. You have to contact your legislators and you go. There is nothing left to do at this point. So that's my time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ten forecast away every time New Jersey. This has been going on for a long time. I have a question. We talked about, we're asking tractors for the formula. Has anybody tried to reverse engineer the formula? Because we have the inputs, we have the outputs. We just need to know what's in the middle, in a sense.
Yes.
We have? Okay, so you guys know what it is then?
Sort of. Yeah, we know the gross, we don't know an individual district level.
Okay, because, the reason why I'm asking is I ran into an article on X, and I got to thinking, because it was blasting one particular town that's nearby. And they give their students, $55,000 per year cost per student, and that town's asked loans in the state. So with that being said, I was like, let me see what other towns, what other areas in the state are higher, because they weren't the highest, which was interesting. And I come to find out that a town near where I was born, because I was born, I believe, to say, Patterson was one really large town. If you know anything about Patterson right now, you're not doing too hot. But as I also conducted other research on this, I found something that was interesting, and that was the highest school districts have special needs. I work in the special needs field, and I've seen stuff, and I'm questioning things. But it also brought up something else, the learning centers. I don't know if anybody's heard about those, the learning centers in Minnesota. There's a guy, Nick, I want to say sort of, I could be wrong on that, he went around as an independent journalist, going to a bunch of these learning centers that were run by Somalis, and there's no students there, there's no kids, So there's definite fraud in that case. I have to ask these people in our state, if they're doing that in that state, yes, our state has a lot of people, how do we not know that there's fraud? It's going to be statewide. This could be a lot larger than people think. Yes, it sounds like conspiracy theory, I know. But I have to ask a question. This is our home. And may it seem out of place. How do you overthrow a government from within? A lot of people look and sit back and say, oh, it's simple, take out the officials, blah, 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 you take out the president. But once that government takes over, who supports it? Is it us, the adults in this room right now? No, it's the youth, it's our children. And that's what's being targeted over the years. I mean, COVID was definitely an example of that. Our kids lost time learning, if I'm not correct. We're under attack. I don't trust the state that much. That's why I think, if we can pull together and get an audit, improve it somehow. But, I mean, I just answered why. As a country, we're under attack. Don't know where to go, I don't know how much time I got left. But I think, although sitting here, I think I might have a solution. Because I have to check on a few things first with the town. And if I'm right, we can pull the same trick that was done in our Congress here at the local level. But I have to ask some lawyers and whatnot. Attorney? Question. Can the school ask the town for a loan? And if so, is there a cap on that? I mean, I quickly,
It was generally like a Q&A session, so I don't typically speak in the Q&A. It has to be.
It's fine, that's fine. I figured I'd ask, because there was a trick done in our Congress, and I quickly looked it up. Looks like it might be doable, but I have to find out from our township officials. If it is, we might be able to bypass some things. The state might not be happy. Oh, quick question. You're talking about the state, there was a benefit plan, health benefit plan, and they wouldn't allow other districts to get out of it? Or what, how did that work, by contract or by?
Well, it's just, other districts' experience might not be good enough to get out. That if you know what that means. Your experience rating, maybe their claims are high, that kind of thing, so they can't actually sell their insurance from another plan.
Sell the insurance.
Well, they can't find another, company to take it over.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Interesting.
Hi, Alicia Goldner, 29 Chilson Drive. I just wanted to add a little bit more to the community highlights. We had our town PTO auction last weekend, and it was one of our best auctions ever. Dana did a fantastic job and got us about $29,000 of donations and prizes. We don't have our final number yet, but we're waiting for that for our next meeting, so I'm kind of excited about that. I did also want to say that our next auction is already set for April 17th, 2027, if anybody wants to mark their calendars. And then my last kind of question, comment for the record is, I don't see anybody from the Township Committee here. Did I miss when they were here?
It's already closed.
Katie, so I just want to make the point that the kids are not numbers. My brother is in 6th grade, and he comes home every day. He has never really liked school, to be fair, but he's miserable to the point where I can't ask him how his day was. He can tell the teachers are overwhelmed with over 30 kids in their classroom. And his friends come to our house, and I ask them about school. They don't want to talk about it. They are miserable, shoved into those classrooms. And I know Ms. Phillips has seen their classrooms, and I know they're crowded. I've been in his classroom. I know how crowded it is. I am here all the time. I work with the PTO. I volunteer here all the time. The kids are not happy with 30 kids in the classroom, and I understand that it's not your direct fault. But it's not okay for them to know their teachers are unhappy with the situation. The teachers tell the kids how hard it is to teach a class with that many students. I am in school to be a teacher, and this is ridiculous. I went through here. Mrs. Levy was my librarian. Ms. Phillips, you were my principal. And this is just, it's sad to see the district going this way. And it's so sad that I can't ask my brother how his day was, because he's miserable here. He cannot wait to leave. He asks every single day if one of us can come pick him up early. It's not fair to the students. And I understand your hands are tied, but they're not just numbers. They're kids. They can't be shoved into a classroom like that.
Okay, anybody else? All right, seeing none, we got a motion, please, in a second. Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. We've got one coming up. Come on down.
Hi, I'm Erica Malone, 87 Bay Parkway. So what is exactly happening with like the special education programs?
Special education is all governed by state code, so we have very specific regulations that we have to follow as far as implementation of those programs and numbers within those programs. They have to continue on based on how students' IEPs are written.
but are we looking at like higher class sizes for them as well?
Higher general education class sizes. So if a student is in the mainstream room during certain periods of the day, they would be in there with, you know, additional students, more than what they are now used to. But programs like Research Room or Self-Contained or you know, variety of the other options in special education, they have specific caps on their class sizes.
Okay. Also, like with the powers being cut down part-time, like my son's in Miss Holly's room, and he's got a few powers in there. What's gonna happen with that?
So we're looking at all the scheduling, but ultimately, if, you know, the paras are, you know, doing a 4-hour shift, then someone else will come in for the second part of that shift as well.
But that doesn't make sense, to me at least. Wouldn't it make more sense just to keep them in all day?
If we could, we would. It would certainly provide more consistency to our students. The issue becomes one of, you know, a finance problem with paying for health benefits as well as coverage for salaries to, you know, be in so that they can go to lunch or take breaks or, you know, whatever it may be. So.
All right, I guess. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, can I have a motion to close the public forum? Anybody else want to speak? Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Mr. Tartt? And Mrs. Peters. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Fuchs? Yes. Mrs. Lehman? Yes. Mr. Kim?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Susan?
Yes, we're now closed to the public forum. I think I can say a few things. First of all, I just want to really thank our community and our families and the staff for your nonstop support, you know, of our school district. You know, I've lived in Waretown for over 35 years, and I love this town, and I fell in love with this school district when my own children were students here. You know, it really is the heart of our community, and it's really filled with loving supporters like yourself and our staff and our families. And really, I'm honored to sit here. Thank you for allowing me to do that. I hope I can continue, but you know, the challenges that we're facing, these are a community challenge, and it affects all of us. You know, I've witnessed some really remarkable initiatives by you, the people in town, helping us fight this ridiculous and unnecessary lack of school public funding. So I want to thank the visionaries of our town. I want to thank the leaders of our town. I want to thank the families of our town who have really taken this upon themselves through their own initiation to try to find some type of voice where the state may hear us. We've been struggling with this for over 8 years, and this gentleman was asking, well, what are we going to do? Well, how do we get more money? That's a wonderful question. Nobody knows. No, there's districts in this state that are far worse than us, and there are districts in this state that are far better than us. We just happen to have, you know, a demand by the state of New Jersey that says to these administrators here, you will provide a balanced budget to our state. Okay? It's not optional. And so how do you give the same services, the same attention with a $5 million deficit? We didn't increase the health insurance benefits by 30-some-odd%. We didn't do that. So thank you, Mr. Burns, for your presentation. Takes time and effort to put that together. Obviously, we're not alone with these budget increases. I think Southern this year has approximately 8.8% increase in their budget. I think Pinelands is at 13%. Let's not forget Little Lake Harbor Board of Education. Last year, the 2025-26 budget, so let me on budget last year by raising their tax levy 32.6%. Okay, so these are the issues that we're struggling with. And listen, we've seen our state make Ocean Township and other towns increase, right, their tax levies. And listen, this is how it kind of works, and I really wanted to say this. You know, in 2025, 2026, right, they wanted us to raise the tax levy by 9.9%, and we had to, okay? okay? And if we did, the state threatened districts like ours, that they would possibly even cut our funding more the following year, because the way that they thought about it was, if you don't go ahead and implement that 9.9% over cap, you don't need the money. And so it's really insane. And it sort of defines me a little bit of the word extortion. And Tom's River refused. They said, no, we're not doing it. We're not going to be your pawn, and we are not going to raise the taxes. Well, the state came in and said, well, guess what? We're going to do it anyway. So we're always caught between the rock and the hard place. There's no answers from the state. There's no interest in public education, and there really is no fair funding formula in sight. Districts are on your own, okay? And many are being pushed into bankruptcy. So we're on the hamster wheel for 8 years. Districts like ourselves are seeing staff reduction, class size increases, not replacing retired teachers, and in some cases, districts are now charging parents for clubs and sports. And unless the state funding formula is fixed, public education for most towns, it is not going to be sustainable. Politicians decided that some students will get a thorough and efficient education, and most, including ours here and yours, will not. You know, it's just heartbreaking to see some of these cuts. We don't want to do this, okay? We have to provide a balanced budget, and you know, the biggest thing on the pie chart is always staff and always our health benefits. Something that's really been sort of devastating and hurtful to me, and that is that many in our town not always rallied around us. And I think one of our staff members at their last meeting came up and spoke and said, if you're not aware of what's been going on, you're not paying attention. We've never been one that wanted to raise taxes. That's not sustainable, we know that. We're put on a board as volunteers to serve our community. You know, what we needed was for the community to see that it was a state issue, and I think the tides are slowly turning to see that. It's not a Board of Education issue. You know, we are not financially incompetent, we're not corrupt, we don't have some nefarious and over sneaky intent that cause havoc on the taxpayers, and people accused us of being a money grab. We even had a candidate run for the board with community support on a platform that they were going to find fiscal corruption. And when they were questioned at a public meeting, did you ever find the corruption? They stated no, they did not. The frustration from the Waretown community is absolutely understandable. How some chose to express that was hurtful, okay? You know, poet Maya Angelou, she's been attributed for saying people will never forget, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And this personally speaks to me when I think of how some of the people treated this board in our challenging times. You know, we've had past presidents and vice presidents come up and attack us. These are our friends. Do you know how that felt? That was absolutely awful, okay? There was an absolute failure to foster alignment with our town's governing board and a lack of cohesive direction. And their past behavior suggested a lack of shared goals, and it appears there was a desire to have us all go in these different directions. So we're done with that. We need unity, okay? You don't send a colored pie chart to every taxpayer in our town that outlines and highlights in a big red slice our school taxes, along with every Waretown tax bill, okay? That was divisive enough. And then posting on their 2024 webpage under tax bill information, please be reminded the Ocean Township School Board voted for a 9.9% increase on school tax. That was outrageous. That was just being spirited. That's not unity. Come to your own conclusions, but it appeared to incite and not unite. And many Waretown residents noticed that strategic failure, okay? And again, I thought these were my friends, I still consider them my friends, but you know, we don't go to board meetings, any other public issue, we don't put people down, we don't question what they're doing, okay? It's just not what we do. We stick to our jurisdiction, and we take care of the business of the Board of Education, okay? That's what we do. Listen, right now, our community leaders, they're a day late and they're $1 short. For 8 years, they didn't offer anything, not a letter, not a phone call, not a statement. Saying one thing, just one thing. We stand with you. It appears there's been a change of heart now to look more involved in the list of sudden support tactics since the last meeting, which was only 14 days ago, where the people of Waretown displayed their frustration, and they were simply asking the leaders to unite our town on a town problem. So just, maybe we could just stop stop that, okay? The behavior has not been kind, it is certainly not uniting. Listen, from now on, from today on, we are all a team. Our governing board has to be a team with us, okay? We're our families and our board members and our students, we've got to be a team. We are one, we're Waretown. We expect and ask everybody to just stand with us because we've got to stand with our public school children. Look, the people of Waretown, I'm going to tell you this too, we need you, all right? We need everyone. This board of individuals is an extremely sincere group, and we're committed to our children, and we're desperately trying to save our school. Community leaders, we're calling on you just to please be kind, please just stand with us, be sincere, be concerned. That's all we're asking for. This is our town. This is our public education, and we're fighting for it together. But, we can't win this battle alone. We just can't. And I just, again, have to commend that we see our community thinking out of the box, taking control, and hopefully, the people of this state will finally get the attention and, get the attention of Trenton to say, what are you doing? You're destroying our public education each and every year. So, look, I look forward to working with all of us, all of our stakeholders. I want to thank you for your continued support of our school, the challenges we face. We've got to save our school. We're together in this Waretown fight. So thank you all very much.
I'd like to say a few words, please. Kind of piggyback on what Kelly said. I did prepare something, and some of it I did mention at our last meeting. I want to take a moment. I was hoping that someone from the Township Committee would be here, but I'm going to say it anyway. I want to take a moment to address how recent Township decisions are impacting our school district. As we finalize this budget, we are facing painful cuts, reducing staff, increasing class sizes, and stretching every resource we have. These decisions affect real people, our students, staff, and our families. At the same time, the Township, and again, I did mention this previously, I'm going to repeat it again, approved a major housing development, 102 townhouses with 2 and 3 bedrooms and an 18-unit affordable apartment building with 1 to 3 bedrooms. This project was approved without any outreach to the school district during its early stages. No one came to us to discuss the impact on the enrollment. No one asked for projections, and no one sought to understand what this would mean for our classrooms. We already have 20 new students enrolled in this development, and the complex is far from complete. We know more families will come. We know more children will enroll. We also know that we are the ones who must absorb that impact while simultaneously cutting staff and increasing class sizes because of state funding losses. The Township does not know how many children we will be responsible for educating, but we do. We see it every day, we feel it in our classrooms, and we are the ones who must make the budget work. In addition, the Township has approved a marijuana dispensary and now a grow facility. Regardless of anyone's personal view on these businesses, they are revenue-generating operations for the Township. Yet, the school district receives no financial benefit from them. While we're cutting staff and increasing class sizes, new ratables are being added that provide support to the schools educating this community's children. I want to be very clear. I'm not against growth. I want to see people. We want to see kids coming in here, or progress in our township. Development can be positive, but responsible development requires communication. It requires collaboration. It requires the township to consider the ripple effects on the school district, the very heart of the community.
So anybody else want anything to say?
I think that's enough.
I said it all.
Real quick, you guys are going to follow up. I didn't write anything down, but I just want to say this time of constant negativity, they say nothing is strong from the heart of a volunteer. So the PTO, people that put that together, I know you guys worked super, super hard to do that. You guys did an awesome job. So phenomenal job.
Thank you,
Yeah, but we kind of always try to can stay away from it from time to time. I do glance at it. And some of the stuff that's been out there from the people, I know you guys have worked super hard to create what you did, get the information out there, it's plain and simple. So for all those people that did that awesome job, again, it's a volunteer role. At heart, I am a history nerd, so I did see something Mrs. Naseby wrote, which I thought, or a quote she posted, which was awesome, which was from John Adams in regard to education. And I'll just take like a little excerpt of it. And it says, the whole people must take upon themselves the education of the whole people, must be willing to bear the expense of it. And the point of that quote, I guess it was probably 1795, I think, was that essentially the entire community benefits from everybody being educated. It's not about one individual's child, it's not about one individual's needs, it's about the entire community benefits from an education, from an educated populace. So I saw that quote, I thought that was pretty cool, so nice job.
Thank you, Brian. I did want to just say, Mrs. Bolder, thank you so much for the work that you do with the PTO. If you've ever ran a gift auction, it's just a tremendous amount of work. So thank you for the efforts and for all your sweat. We really appreciate that. These women are volunteers, and you're right, Brian, the volunteers are really a part of the community. And they come in here and they put so many wonderful things together for these kids. I mean, you know, it's really a blessing. I think sometimes, you know, as an older person, I look to the youth and I always say to them, you know, I'm sort of looking at the future. Right? I'm this time traveler. And I've said this before, I mean, it sounds a little morbid, but I'm thinking, you know, geez, by the time they're my age, I'm not even be here. And here I am looking at the future. It's our responsibility to impart leadership skills on them, to let them develop, to let them explore their interests, to let them keep them curious about learning. All these wonderful gifts that we are entrusted to give to them. And it's just so disheartening when we come here, you know, week after week and month after month, and we just rack our head. And Mr. Burns, working figures and figures, you take it from here. You know, the old saying, you know, borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. And Miss Phillips and Miss Reinhardt, they're on the phone all the time, and they're calling, they're answering our questions. It's just been so demoralizing. But I know that, you know, with our unity and our strength here, I think things are going to turn around. If anything else, at least we feel united, and we feel that, you know, we have friends in the community. It's very difficult to be up here where we sort of feel like we're being attacked all the time. And people say, well, you signed up for that. Yes, we did sign up for that. And this is a public forum. People need to come here. They need to express their frustrations. They need to ask questions. We understand that. But we don't want it to be mean-spirited. I mean, that's just not necessary. We don't need to be attacked. That's just not necessary. Especially when these are things that are just completely out of our control. So thank you all so much for your support and for you know, the love that you share to us, and we really, really appreciate that very much. These people up here are doing a heck of a job. So thank you for that.
I told you I'm from Greenbrier. I put that template out to the community of the over 1,400 homes. I was so pleased that I received so many responses that they have themselves reached out to Trenton as well, even though they don't have children in the community. That's my biggest pet peeve, they had children that went through schools, they have grandchildren that went through schools, and they wanted the best for them at that time, and they want their grandchildren to have the best. I have several posts a day keeping everybody over there, you know, in the community as to what's going on. So I just want you to know that I was so pleased that I have so many that are participating. Some are even going to go to the rally. So, you know, so you
And just do something to our Greenbrier residents. Those people are so supportive of this school district. Let me tell you the money that they've given, and I'll be attending the scholarship award ceremony coming up this week at Southern Regional. They have given, I mean, we're talking thousands of dollars to our graduating seniors. We're talking they have given us whatever this school district needs. They provide, they've paid off people's lunch bills. They provided a few years ago, remember the little carriage for the special ed students? They were unbelievably expensive. It was like $3,000 each. What are we talking about? These people are incredible neighbors. I mean, if you want a supportive community, they have been just wonderful. They lead with love for this district. Look, you're gonna get a couple of crab apples no matter where you go, you know? I mean, so, you know, we understand that, but they really have been supportive in the financial things that they've done for students, not only just individually, but as a community and for this district. And I can tell you what, I know that if we reached out to them and asked for anything, they'd be there. They're people you can depend on, so I want to thank the Greenbrier community.
And I will.
All right, anybody else? All right, with that said, the next Board of Education meeting will be our regular meeting scheduled for Thursday, June 11th, 2026 at 6:15 p.m. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Motion. Second, we are now joined at 7:14.